In this week's episode, we talk about Sony showing at this year's CES.
And Atari announces a collaboration with My Arcade for some 50th anniversary hardware. I'm Barry.
And I'm Anthony. Welcome to episode 80 of the Retro Gaming Dads podcast, the podcast for everything retro and retro inspired. We've hit 80.
Yeah, God, I feel old. Unfortunately, we didn't manage to do it in our second year, as you mentioned last episode.
So it was close, but missed it by a hair.
Yeah.
However, that's water the bridge, just a number.
It's a new year, so off we go. And before we get going, and usually we talk about what games we've been playing, and it's a new year. Yep. What are your gaming resolutions?
Oh, what as in what games to play, or what?
Yeah, what you want to pick up, what you hope comes out, but your backlog that you need to get through. Because I know I've got a massive backlog just on the Switch.
Oh yeah, flipping out. Well, in all fairness, we know that most of those games you wouldn't be able to complete in the year. If you listed them all out at least. Now, I do need to finish off Sonic. I think my issue is the amount of times that I'm like, okay, I'll go on the Xbox, go online, and then you come online as well, and we then play a multiplayer game.
Yeah, you make that sound like I'm coming on and inconvenience you. But what actually happens is you go, I'm going on the Xbox. Do you want to come on?
Well, yeah, maybe I should be like, all right, tell you what, I'm going to play a single player game. You play your single player game.
So don't be trying to blame me. Don't be trying to blame me.
I don't know. Oh, I'll tell you what, Starfield, I'm looking forward to that.
I think that's been delayed again, hasn't it?
I know.
Or there's rumours of it being delayed again.
And also Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
That's another game I'm quite looking forward to.
Well, the games I'm looking forward to is obviously Armored Core.
Oh, yeah. How could I forget Armored Core?
I was surprised you didn't mention it. That's why I chucked it in there.
Well, I think it's because we only said it once so far.
Which Armored Core?
Well, recently, sorry.
I was going to say, we talked about it almost a year ago. I think for me, my gaming resolution, I want to get through some of my Switch games, and unfortunately, the majority of them are RPGs.
And you keep adding to them.
They're not like, yeah, I keep adding to them. So they're not like 5-hour-long games or anything. They're like 30, 40 plus hours. I think, though, this year, I definitely want to get through Atelier Ryza.
Yes.
Since I also have the sequel and I have the third one on pre-order. So it'd be nice to complete the first one, maybe.
Maybe you should play them on your commute.
I sleep on my commute.
Fair enough.
And in all fairness, I would play them on the trains if the trains ever did run.
Yeah, that's true too.
I also want to maybe work my way through maybe Grandia, the original Grandia.
Okay.
And that's a game I've always wanted to play since saw it on the Saturn and the PlayStation. So,
do you know, another game relation I'll take is I actually fancy picking up another Game Boy and a Pokemon Blue.
And Pokemon Blue.
Yeah, maybe.
If you do, I could play through my Pokemon Yellow since I lost my save.
Yeah.
The only other thing that I'm hoping for game-wise this year as well is maybe strictly limited games that actually send my bloody games out to me as well that have been waiting since May. I'm going to bring this up every episode until they actually send them out. Which at this point is the end of February, I think it was.
Last year.
Sorry?
Weren't you doing the same thing with the game last year? What was it? It was
no, it wasn't last year. It was the year before. That was wasn't it Scott Pilgrim?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a normal spell. But yeah, Scott Pilgrim.
That was with limited run games, so they're just as bad.
Shall we move on? Because I know we've got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, there's a little bit from CES. But before we jump into it, should we say a massive thank you to our Patreon subscribers?
Yes, we can't forget. So, Bobby Socks and Short Gizmo, again, thank you very much. And we'll give you a shout out every week till we get more.
Yeah, every week that you forget to cancel that direct debit.
Yes.
So, some quick news. Have you seen EA managing to make the Madden players' lives that little bit more miserable in the new year?
A little bit more miserable. So, panic. If you want to lose your save, well, if you don't lose a save, don't play the game.
Well, yeah. Players who've logged into EA's franchise server the other day have corrupted their saves. EA have come out and gone, oh, but don't worry, we're working on restoring some of these saves. We reckon we'll be able to save about 40% of them. That's a nice way to say that 60% of you are... I can't think of a nice way to put it.
Screwed.
Yeah.
Not going to be happy.
So this mode that people pour hours and hours into, and which I know a couple of people buy just for the franchise mode, because it's like the equivalent of a campaign mode to a lot of people. It's the meat of the game. And yeah, if you were just unfortunate enough to think, do you know what, I want to play it, and logged in during this time, the save's probably gone.
Yeah, most probably. Not only that, EA's gone, might lose it. They're also suggesting, might as well just start a new franchise.
You may as well start it, because let's face it, you're probably not getting it back.
So I just kind of feel like they've kind of glazed over the fact that loads of people are going to lose it, and then just gone, just start a new franchise.
Now, I don't think it is, but I really hope that this mode doesn't have paid loot boxes or surprise mechanics, or whatever they want to call them, included. Because imagine that if you've paid for players or something. Like, I've never played a Madden game in my life, so I'm not 100% sure how it works.
It's EA, so there's got to be something like that in the game.
Well, I would imagine there would have been a lot of people kicking off about this, and I've not seen anyone mention losing paid for content.
That's fair enough.
Apparently, everyone's lost the save due to a storage issue. So that's nice and specific, isn't it?
I could turn and say that this isn't the first time.
Well, yeah, it's not even the first time for this particular title.
Exactly. So, back in October, a lot of players lost the majority or all of their progress as well.
Yeah. So if you were unlucky, you lost your save. If you was lucky, you won a match, progressed through the season, and then went, do you know what? I'm just going to roll back the season.
I don't know. If it's happened twice, what makes you think it's not going to happen again?
Absolutely nothing, to be honest. I think this is definitely going to happen again. But, yeah, EA will be EA, won't they?
Yes.
Anytime they start to get a little bit of favour, they think, hold me beer.
I know how to ruin this one.
Well, moving on to the next piece of news. It appears that the rumoured Switch Pro has now been officially canned, or unofficially canned, because it was never announced.
Yeah. Obviously, we spoke about it on a few occasions, because there was rumours coming out, all different things. There's been lots and lots of stuff.
It's like every other month, I think, rumours come out.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it's come out saying that, like Barry said, they've now cancelled the unannounced Switch Pro.
Yeah.
But there is a silver lining, isn't there, Barry?
Yeah, so a lot of the rumours now are pointing to Nintendo keeping the Switch OLED as their premium Switch model and just moving on to a complete successor.
Now, it makes sense if that's the case, because they're looking at a 2024 release, aren't they?
That's the rumours. Again, none of this is confirmed. There's practically no evidence to back this up either. It's just a lot of people saying the same things, which ultimately doesn't mean anything.
What I'm kind of getting at is if they announce the Switch Pro this year and then announced the new Nintendo console next year, people aren't going to be happy, and it's a bit of a waste.
Yeah, no, I think if they were doing a Switch Pro this year, there'd definitely be another 3 years till we saw like a Switch 2 or something. But although Nintendo have a habit of, especially with the handhelds, doing upgraded versions of them, with the exception of the Game Boy Color, I think it's always been so confusing the way they've done it.
And pointless.
Yeah, it's like you had the DS, and then you got the DSi. Okay, so what's the difference?
Yeah.
Well, the DSi could play games that the DS couldn't, but the DS could play Game Boy Advance games, which the DSi couldn't. Yeah, or some DS games required a Game Boy Advance cartridge slot to put an expansion pack in, which the DSi couldn't use. I was like, oh my god, you're making this confusing.
Could never get over the fact that why did they have the 3DS and release a 2DS which doesn't fold?
Well, I don't have a problem with that, because the 2DS was a lot more robust. It was cheaper to produce. It was for children.
Yeah, didn't like it.
But then when you got the new 3DS and the new 3DS XL and the new 2DS, I don't have an issue with releasing different models, more premium looking models, which I thought were great. But then you've got games that only work on these new consoles.
Exactly. So you have to make sure you buy the right game that works on them. And if you've got a 3DS, you have to make sure you don't buy one that only works on a new...
The thing is, developers are like, oh yeah, well, should we make our game for the slightly more powerful new 3DS and new 2DS? I'm like, well, Well, no, because most people have just a standard 3DS or 2DS. We may as well make it for the lower powered hardware so everyone can play it. So then I was like, well,
What's the point of having the higher end?
apart from an extra, I wouldn't even call it an analog stick. It's like those little what are they called on the Lenovo ThinkPads? The little
nipple.
Yeah,
little red nipple.
Yeah, it's basically one of them as a second analog stick, and you get 2 extra shoulder buttons. That's it. But in positive news, the Switch was actually the best-selling console in the UK last year.
Flipping out. For a console's what? How old is it now? 5 years?
6 years? 6 years, I think it is. I have a feeling it's been the best-selling console in the UK for the last 6 years anyway.
Yeah, so do I.
And it has managed to dethrone the Game Boy series of consoles as the 3rd best-selling console of all time.
Flipping out. Yeah, but that's only because people, some people have multiple, like you've got quite a few. But
I haven't got 3. One of them got banned. One of them's Kerry's, and then the other one's to replace the one that got banned.
That's still 3.
Yeah, but there's 3 of us in this house, so it evens out. Actually, no, sorry, there's 4 of us in this house now.
Yeah, you got 4 in the house, but you still have your Switch Lite as well.
Oh, in that case, I can go out and buy another Switch, can't I? It's the law practically at this point. Everyone in the household needs their own Switch.
Got a Switch Lite.
Yeah, that's the one I mentioned before, which is Kerry's. But saying that, I own unknown amount of Game Boys anyway. But going back to the Switch, dethroning the Game Boy, it's now sold better than the lifetime sales of the Game Boy, Game Boy Pocket, and Game Boy Color combined.
Flipping heck. It's just... It for a 6-year-old console, it's still doing really, really well.
Well, yeah, that's the reason. Why would Nintendo replace it next year if it's still selling well?
So you could get more high-end games on it?
And Nintendo aren't about that high-end games.
No, I know offense, they've got...
Which actually the FTC is now declared, haven't they?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's what we forgot to put in here.
You mentioned that in the Microsoft Activision ongoing feud.
Yeah, the FTC have created a new sort of bracket, I'd say.
Yeah, a new console category that doesn't include Nintendo. How can you have a console category that does not include
the best-selling console?
Nintendo? The only company that's essentially been there, especially in the US, the only company that's been there since the start of the console generations, really.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just been off Nintendo. If I was Nintendo, I'll be contacting the FTC going, hang on a second, you're what? How can you put in a high-end... Because high-end gaming consoles, the category is put in as, and they're not including Nintendo.
Yeah. That is so vague. What's high-end?
Yeah, exactly. There's been no clarification on that.
Yeah, and what happens if Nintendo does bring out a Switch 2 in a year or 2 time that's 4K compatible and more powerful than the Xbox Series S, say, just for argument's sake? Will they go, well, actually, it's a new category now because it's not a dedicated home console, so it doesn't really count?
Yeah, so it'll be nice to see what they classify and meets the requirements to be within that bracket.
It's just they'll just keep changing the goalposts. They'll just be like gerrymandering them, picking and choosing to get whatever's favourable for their argument.
Yeah, against...
Absolute joke.
Oh, absolutely shocking. All right, before we get too caught up, right,
should we get into our actual news now?
Yes, believe it or not. And I think this is the one for you, actually.
Oh, why are you saying that? Is it because I'm old?
No, did you say it's over time? No, just because I know you love Atari.
I'm not an Atari fan at all.
I swear you are.
No, I like the Atari 50th anniversary collection, but I'm not an Atari fan. So our first piece of news is Atari is announced a collaboration with My Arcade to bring out a range of hardware. And they've announced this in 3 tweets that have teased what could possibly be coming.
I think for these images, they look pretty snazzy.
Yeah, they don't give an awful lot away, though. At least the first one doesn't. So the first tweet that they announced, which from the day of recording this was 2 days ago, appears to be what I think is a more modern-looking Atari joystick, if that's possible to make that thing look modern.
Yeah, I have no idea. Oh, that's the thing. Looking at these images, It gives like a bit of a sleek feeling to it.
To me, this is what the Atari 2600 could have looked like if it was made in the present day.
Actually, it doesn't really give much away these images at all. There's no joystick. There's nothing that just kind of shows that it is definitely a joystick.
Yeah, no, I'm fairly certain that that first image is a picture of a joystick. It's the action button, and the circular bit, we can see it looks like a light around the actual joystick point.
No, but I mean, the other two tweets kind of give a lot of stuff away, whereas that doesn't give much at all.
Just a tease, like showing them a little bit of ankle.
Better skin.
The other two, I'm going to go a guess. It's basically a collection of vents, so I'm assuming it's some sort of console.
Yeah. No. Just, again, there's not much at all to them in the slightest.
No.
They will be in the show notes, and by all means, have a guess, but no idea.
Yeah. I'm going to guess it's probably going to be some sort of like mini console or a modern version of, say, an older Atari 2600 or something. And I would imagine these are to celebrate Atari's 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
Now, the next one, it's a bit easier to see what this is.
Oh, is
it? This is a miniature arcade, very much in the style of like the Egret Mini and the Astro Mini that we talked about over the last year.
Yeah.
And again, I would imagine this is going to be 50th anniversary. It's going to have maybe Pong, Pac-Man, Asteroids, Centipede, Millipede, games like that just thrown onto it.
Do you reckon these consoles, devices that come out will mainly involve games that's from the 50th anniversary collection?
Well, I think they've put pretty much every single game on that 50th anniversary collection, so I think it'd be very difficult for them to put different selection of games on there. I do think there's definitely going to be a lot of crossover. People who are buying these aren't buying them specifically for the games, they're buying them for the hardware itself as well.
Oh, definitely. But the thing gets me, so the first two tweets with the obviously game console joystick, the second one, which is the mini arcade. The third one, though, I think it's just something that's completely come out from left field.
I told you it was going to be the year of the handhelds.
I know, but who would have thought Atari would be like, here's a handheld for you? What? And there you go. I know you didn't like your Evercade EXP with being so bland, but how'd you look at that one?
I think that looks really nice.
So do I.
So black, red,
and gold,
white, and yellow or gold.
Yellow, gold. Yeah, I think it's subtle, but very nice.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's subtle at all.
All right.
When I saw that color scheme, I thought, reminds me of Titanfall. Actually, saying that one sec.
Yeah, it does. You got a Titanfall controller.
Just bizarrely, that's the controller that Elliot's been using.
That's my favourite controller you have.
It's my favourite design for a controller. Unfortunately, it's an original Xbox One controller.
I meant the design.
Oh yeah, I love that design.
Oh yeah.
It is telling though, just going off topic slightly, I won't let you or Phil use that controller yet. I'll let my 4-year-old son.
No. I actually used that quite a few times.
I wouldn't have let you use it. I would have made it. I would have made you use, me crappy standard pad or something.
I grabbed it out of the box.
Right. Yeah. No, not happy about that. Well, that means it's got all your dead skin on the analog sticks then. Anyway, going back to these, so it looks like we are going to get an Atari maybe mini console, mini arcade, and handheld.
So this is the first handheld that's been announced this year so far, hasn't it?
Well,
I'm sure it is. I mean, is it within this year, the first 5 days of the year?
That I'm aware of, and this, I think the handheld, they actually tweeted about it today, the day we're recording this podcast, which is the 5th of January. And bear in mind, this is actually only the first day of CES as well, so we might get some more stuff at CES.
I know, but who'd have thought the first people to announce a handheld this year is Atari?
Yeah, I would peg them for maybe a new cryptocurrency or hotel again. Probably not going to be anything that I'd pick up, because, again, I'm not an Atari fan. I'm just a really big fan of that Atari collection, though, because it's so interesting. Definitely.
Maybe
not one for me, but no, it looks interesting, and maybe buy that handheld just for how it looks, to be honest. I'll wait until I can see the full thing and just not like little bits like the corners and the...
I can't tell. On the fourth image, is that like a batch pack underneath that cover that you have to like flick down?
If you look back on the one of the arcade as well, both of them
Yes.
look like they've got a battery compartment. So I think
Yeah,
these
they
are going to
do.
be relatively inexpensive things. I don't think it's going to be $250 for your handheld Atari. I think we're probably looking at like $50, $60, something like that.
At that price, it kind of, you look and go, yeah, go on, I'll pick one up.
40, 50 quid. I'd probably pick one up just to look at. I don't know. I'll have a little play of it, but I'll look at it. Right. Well, the rest of our news is actually based around both Sony and CES.
Yeah.
So before we jump into it, we'd like to say a thank you for everyone that listened to the podcast last year. And we'd also like to ask for a moment of your time and a little bit of help. If you're enjoying the podcast, please could you just take just a moment to leave us an honest review on your favourite podcasting app.
Alternatively, if you're able to, you can join our Patreon for as little as £1 per month, where you'll receive an ad-free version of the podcast and get your name shouted out in the next episode. Come on, someone needs to dethrone Sure gives him a Bobby Socks.
Yeah, come on. Let's make it a hat trick.
Yeah.
Let's get a third name in there. I am actually also at the moment going through the website and just sprucing it up a little bit for the new year. And I will be putting a high score table with Patreon members on there. So maybe you want to, I don't know, just suggestion, join our Patreon, pay $150 a month and get your name at the top of the scoreboard. You know, as you know, a little bit of competition going there. Maybe that'll help.
Little leaderboard to see how you're going.
Yeah, exactly. You get nothing for being at the top. Bragging rights, I guess. I don't know. Right. Well, let's move on to the first piece of Sony news, Project Leonardo.
This is very interesting.
Well, I was really disappointed because this is nothing to do with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
When I first read it, I was like, Leonardo? I was like, that's not that.
No. The first time you read it was Project Leonard? What's Project Leonard?
All right, shut up. I can't read. But this is actually a good thing from Sony for once.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Actually, I'd say all this news is positive for Sony.
Do you know what? I do agree with that. So Sony have now announced the accessibility controller. So like Microsoft did way back when, Sony's starting to catch up and making it more accessible for those who are disabled.
Now, it's easy to compare this to Microsoft's adaptive controller, but I'd probably try not to do that because this isn't a competition who's got the best controller. And the fact that this is so different to Microsoft's is a massive plus because it's giving people who may have issues playing with standard controllers more options to enjoy games, make it easier for them. The only thing I do hope is that, like Microsoft's version of this, it works with more than just PlayStation.
Yeah, so you can connect to your PC or anything like that.
Yeah, like there was that video we saw where it was connected to a Switch and it was allowing someone to play Breath of the Wild on the Switch. And I know that you can use the Microsoft one with the PlayStation 4 at least. I'm not sure about the PS5.
I think this is a very unique controller. The fact that it looks like it's two separate pads as such.
Well, it's actually only one, but you can sync two of them together just for more options. Or you can sync one of them plus a standard DualSense controller.
Okay.
So again, you've got options. And like the Microsoft one, you've got a number of inputs. Not quite as many as the Microsoft one. I think it's 4 for each controller. We're using what looks like a headphone jack, just an aux jack. You can connect buttons, switches, pedals. There's a whole range of different third-party accessories that you can plug in so that not like Sony sold ones. They can be from all sorts of companies. And some of the examples it was given is someone, if they've only got movement in one arm, what they could do is they could buy a separate button, put it under their arm, use the big analog stick or the joystick on the controller to move, and when they want to jump, just squeeze it under their arm to activate the jump. There's a whole range of different ways you can connect these up.
It's nice to see the emphasis being put onto those who are disabled to play these sort of things, because
yeah, absolutely.
They're disabled, but that doesn't mean that they don't want to play games. No. The accessibility needs to be there for everyone, and for Sony to be expanding into this market themselves finally is definitely a step in the right direction for them.
No, I think it's a fantastic thing to see Sony stepping up and bringing out a device like this, and in the end, it's a benefit to everyone.
Oh, 100%. Now, at the minute, it's just been announced. So when we have any more details about price and whatever, we will update you and let you know.
Mm-hmm. And what I will say is, although personally I don't like the design of the PlayStation 5, they're keeping everything on point with the design aesthetics, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. Yes, they are. You look at it and even if you saw this completely out of context in a completely different site, just a controller, that's Sony PlayStation.
Yeah, definitely. Now, the next bit of news was around the PlayStation VR2, which is due for launch in February, 22nd of February.
Not long at all.
Mm-hmm.
Not gonna lie. It's a cool, funky little headset.
It's a very expensive, cool, funky little headset.
Yeah, it is. I remember talking to my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law goes, they're talking about the PlayStation. Just talk about pricing and everything else. Just, I know it's a bit off topic, but he goes, "Oh, do you know how much a new PlayStation is?" He goes, "Oh, yeah." I was like, "Why?" He goes, "Yeah, it's about £1,000." It's like, okay, it's not £1,000. And he goes, I was like, "Okay, well, how much do you think a new VR headset is?" And he goes, "Yeah, about 1,500." I'm like, "Just for the headset?" He goes, Yeah. I'm like, no, stop talking.
Is this the same one who got one for Christmas that you were talking about last podcast?
Yeah.
How old is he? Just out of curiosity.
17.
He's 17 and he has such a poor concept of what things cost.
He's got no concept of money.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're listening to this, I'm sorry, but I had to share it.
Yeah. On a technological front, this headset looks absolutely amazing.
It does. It really, really does.
If you take price out of the equation, the only thing I can say is it's unfortunately tethered, which isn't the end of the world, but it is nice to have untethered headsets. So Sony have announced that alongside it launching at the end of February, 30 compatible games will also be available. Some specific to VR, and some are just standard games that have VR functions. Some of the examples they give was No Man's Sky, Horizon Call of the Mountain, and Resident Evil The Village.
So at least you've got something to start off with when the headset comes out. But not only that, you'll be getting Beat Saber. Who doesn't like a bit of Beat Saber on a VR headset?
As we mentioned, there's some dedicated games coming to PlayStation VR2, and some games are getting updates to support it. One of which is actually Gran Turismo 7, which will be getting a free update, allowing you to experience driving your car around some of the best tracks in the world in cars that you'll never be able to afford.
No, however, I feel like this is one of those where if you get motion sickness, you may feel it ragging it around the track.
See, in VR, I have got motion sickness, but never if I'm sat in, say, a cockpit or a car and ragging it around, as you said. That does not give me motion sickness. It's when I am walking as the character using an analog stick and my brain's going, whoa, what's going on? Your legs aren't moving, but why are you walking? I can see your legs moving, but I can't feel them moving. What's going on? I'm going to be sick. So that's when I've got motion sickness.
Thankfully, I don't have that issue, so...
Yeah, I think it's the disconnect between your brain seeing your legs moving,
but your legs ain't moving.
But going, hang on, your legs ain't moving here. That's also when sometimes the headset lose tracking, and if you move, especially forward and backwards, but the actual image stays static, that really quickly can cause nausea. Like, it's just a brief moment till it catches up.
No, I can get it, because you're there looking around as if you know what it would do to sort of see how everything is, and the screen's not moving.
Yeah, it makes you feel quite dizzy or lightheaded for a brief moment. Well, while we're talking about Gran Turismo, Sony have also announced they are doing a Gran Turismo movie.
Interesting. I'm Yeah, I'm interested to see how this goes and what the storyline is, really.
Have you seen the little teaser, I guess you could call it, or behind the scenes sneak peek?
No, I've not had a chance to watch it yet.
So I was thinking, Gran Turismo, how can you make a movie about this? It's a load of cars going around in circles, essentially. Well, apparently it's based on a true story. However,
How?
I don't know what this true story is. And the movie will follow the journey of a teenager who goes from playing Gran Turismo on his PlayStation to actually driving these very expensive cars around some of these iconic tracks.
So it's basically they're playing a game, really enjoying it, thinks, I want to do that, and just following his journey.
Yeah, I'm sure I've actually heard of very similar stories. Not Gran Turismo, but there was that NASCAR one that I was telling you about just before Christmas, where they went, he just kind of like slammed into the wall and used the wall to propel himself around to gain a few positions.
He got off a game.
Yeah, I used to play a game on the GameCube, and that's what I used to do. These games are getting old enough now where people who played them are professionals in sports that they probably started off playing as a video game.
I will be interested to see how this adaptation works because I don't know. It's a very niche kind of film. It sounds like.
I don't know. We not long had that movie. I can't remember. It's like the one with the Ford racing one, where it was Ford and another company, and they were competing.
It's got Matt Damon in.
I was so wanted to go Matt Damon.
You know what? That's what came to my head as well. I say that, and I'm just sorry. I thought the name, and I wanted to say it like that, and I thought, no, just say it properly.
There's definitely a market for this kind of film, and to be honest, it looks all right. However, they were showing some of the ways that they're recording it, and because they were saying they can't fit these massive IMAX cameras into a car cockpit, there's just no space for them. But they still wanted to get these fantastic shots. They are actually using cameras where the sensor and the lens is separate from the body of the camera. So they can bolt the camera on the top, have a cable run into the lens and the sensor, so they can fit it into more unique positions. And they've actually recreated so many of these iconic replay shots that you used to get in the games. And have even said they've got a rig where it holds the camera at the back above the car. So you get that third-person racing view.
Oh, that's cool.
Watch that little sneak peek. It shows you really briefly as it goes through them. I actually think this visually will look really good because it could have been so easy for them to just go down the CG route for the races.
No, but the fact that they are actually recording the races, there's something so different to actually recording it than CGing it.
Yeah, definitely. I actually watched this and I thought, I'm not into racing or anything. Yeah. I actually thought, I wouldn't mind watching this actually. It does look really impressive.
I'll be interested to see like a trailer for it. Yeah,
well, it's not a proper trailer, but
no, I know. But I mean, when it does sort of come a bit more into fruition, seeing a trailer come out, I am interested to see it.
Well, it is due to come out this summer, I think it was.
Okay, so not long at all.
Yeah, we'll probably get a trailer probably in the next couple of months.
Now, talking about cars, Sony, as we kind of guessed, have announced a collaboration with Honda.
Yeah, we couldn't think it'd be much more than a car. It's either that or a robot. But yeah, they've got a very futuristic looking car that they're working on with quite a few other companies, but the chief one being Honda.
Yeah, so is the PlayStation going to be playable in there, or is it just...
I don't know.
Yeah, because there's an image there. Horizon,
there is a clip where it actually shows inside, and on one of the headrests, it appears that they are playing Horizon.
Yeah.
I don't know. I personally don't think they'll have a PlayStation 5 embedded into the car.
But why someone playing Horizon in a car?
So they were talking about Qualcomm have done a lot of chips for the car.
Yeah.
And they were talking about it having 5G. So I'm wondering whether or not it'll stream, It'll do PlayStation game streaming.
I don't know. If you're in the car going to get down the motorway or in a dodgy area not with signal, it's going to be dropping out. I'm not really sure how
Yeah,
well
if you're in a dodgy area, they'll probably go rob your car and your PlayStation anyway. So.
Yeah, no, but say you go in the countryside. There's not much signal out there, is there?
This car does not look like it'll do well in the countryside.
No, but I don't know. Say someone lives up in the lakes with the small country roads. Signal at the best.
No,
Shoddy
I can't.
best,
I honestly cannot see this having an embedded PlayStation 5.
This is where the next announcement comes, and the PlayStation 5 is embedded.
Yeah, but imagine that. Imagine I just want it as a business car. I don't want to be someone in the back playing on a PlayStation.
Oh, so you don't want business in the front and front?
Just be very careful what you're about to say, because this is going to sound like some sort of innuendo.
What, as in, don't say pleasure in the back?
Yeah, I was about to say business at the front, pleasure at the back. That is going to sound really bad, and is also going
off the car. Get your mind out of the gutter. Giggity.
Yeah, but again, technology, it looks really impressive. So they were talking about it's got 45 sensors, which is like mixture of LiDAR sensors, proximity sensors, cameras. So it should be pretty safe. Or when Skynet comes into fruition, it's going to be able to track you down very well.
Where's it going? I can see it over there. There are 45 cameras watching at once.
Yeah, it even has a screen along the front, and it shows like the badge of the car, but like animated. And then the next thing, Spider-Man pops up. And it's like a nameplate in a game. It's popping up with like Spider-Man or other images and that. I know what everyone's going to do. They're either going to have it like Kit from Knight Rider, where it's just going back and forth like a red line, or the Cylons, if you want to be a bit, more menacing, from Battlestar Galactica.
This is going to be expensive.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, and it goes without saying it's an electric vehicle, so.
Oh, yeah. And it also drain the battery.
Well, yeah, especially if it's got a PS5 running in there.
Exactly.
That's why they've been doing all these revisions to get the PlayStation 5 more energy efficient. Not to save money, it's so they can put it in a car without killing the battery in 10 minutes. Imagine that you're driving along and you go, oh yeah, it's fine. We've still got 200 miles range on this. And just the PlayStation boots up. You've now got 6 miles.
Is that what they also do with the revision of the PlayStation, making it smaller as well? So you can fit it in.
And there's us being cynical, thinking Sony are just trying to make more money out of it.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not something that we really talk about, and we'll probably never mention it again. But it's not a PlayStation car. A Sony and Honda's car looks very futuristic, and apparently it's going to be available for sale in spring 2026.
I'm sorry, you missed a trick there. I said it'll be ready for launch because it looks like a spaceship.
It does a little bit. It does a little bit. At least it looks more like a car than the Tesla Cybertruck.
Oh, that thing looked like the Tank Mouse.
Yeah. Actually, that Cybertruck looks like this car. If it was in a game, it's really far away, so the level of detail is really low.
The squint, look a bit to the side.
Right, so I think that's all we've got for today, but hopefully next week we'll have a little bit more from CES, as we've still got a few more days of it.
Yeah, I think CES so far has actually been really interesting, and it's been nice to say something positive about Sony for once.
Yeah, and at this time, this is day one of it, as of when we're recording this podcast.
So come next week, we'll have plenty more to share. I'm Anthony, and this is the end of this week's episode. If you'd like to find out more about anything mentioned, then please take a look at the show notes. We've been the Retro Gaming Dads, and we'll see you next time.